I'm a German that has lived in the UK and that has to mirror on this channel as well. And today we're diving straight into the hilarious world of online stereotypes by counting down the 10 absurd things British keyboard warriors unironically believe about Germany. If you spend more than 5 minutes scrolling through British comment sections on the digital outrage factories, formerly known as social media, you will quickly realize that their perception of their continental neighbors is stuck in a bizarre time warp. And these myths are loudly repeated by sofa-bound geopolitical gladiators who have clearly never set foot in the country they love to criticize. At number 1 is the Autobahn speed trap myth. British internet users genuinely believe that Germany's highway system is a lawless, speed limit-free Wild West where every single driver is legally required to cruise at 300 kilometers per hour. In reality, massive sections of the network have permanent or dynamic speed limits, and you are far more likely to get stuck in a long traffic jam than to live out your Formula One fantasies. Although, in the time when I was on Air Force Academy, I was very far from home, and I did drive home on Friday afternoons with about 270 kilometers per hour. That was the car that I had at the time. But if they aren't complaining about the roads, they're arguing about the pool deck at number 2 with a towel sovereignty war. There is an absolute conviction in the UK that German tourists wake up at 4 a.m. specifically to deploy their terry cloth sovereignty flags, or pool towels, onto prime sun lounges. While holiday reservation wars are real, they are a pan-European sport, and the British are just as guilty of it. Next, at number 3 is the myth of flawless efficiency. British commentators love to put German logistics on a divine pedestal, believing that every single train runs precisely to the millisecond. They are completely blind to the daily struggles of Deutsche Bahn, the notoriously delayed Iron Horse monopoly, which leaves local commuters just as frustrated as any traveller in London. And then we have number 4, the joke-free zone. British social media is convinced that Germans are physically incapable of understanding humor. They assume the entire population operates solely on logic and spreadsheet data, completely missing the dry, deeply sarcastic wit of daily German life. At number 5 is the Sunday silence arrest. Many Brits believe Germany is a rule-obsessed dystopia where you will be dragged away by the authorities for vacuuming your rug or recycling a glass bottle during Ruhezeit. And while the sacred state-mandated silence of Sunday is respected, nobody is calling SWAT teams over a noisy washing machine. And this escalates at number 6 with the Imperial EU conspiracy, where unhinged keyboard warriors claim Germany uses the European Union as a front for continental dominance, treating Brussels as a puppet theater run entirely from Berlin. Which is so hilarious. And to be honest, as a German, I should say I wish it was that way, but unfortunately it isn't. And number 7 is the Lederhosen dress code. The British public often assumes all 84 million Germans live in a fairy tale Alpine village, permanently dressed in Alpine leather garments, which is the Lederhosen, while clutching giant beer mugs, completely ignoring the industrial hubs of the north. And I do have a Lederhose. And I wear it exactly once a year when even in my part of Germany we have Oktoberfest. Which brings us to number 8, the warm beer delusion. British commentators frequently mock Germans for drinking warm beer, completely forgetting that German Pilsner is served ice cold, while it is actually the UK that is world famous for its cellar temperature real ales. And yes, I know what I'm talking about. I did have a long time to compare those two. At number 9 is the emotionless android theory. There's a common belief online that Germans are cold, unfeeling robots because they don't engage in the performative, over-the-top politeness common in British small talk or even worse in American. And finally, at number 10 is the monotonous sausage diet. They believe the local culinary scene starts and ends with bratwurst and sauerkraut, completely oblivious to Germany's diverse, world-class gastronomy and their actual seasonal obsession with white asparagus. By the way, even in my hometown, we have a 2-star Michelin restaurant here. And ultimately, these bizarre online myths tell us far more about British cultural anxieties than they do about the actual reality of modern Germany. But nevertheless, for Germany, you unfortunately need to speak German to go to my comparable German channel. But we'll talk about the UK here more until the next round.